Hairdressing, illegal. Driving, illegal. Tour guide, you guessed it, illegal. All right guys, so I thought today we could talk a little bit about a pretty interesting topic that you may not be that familiar with. I have mentioned this in other videos as like a kind of segue or something else. But this is a topic that you may not know too much about, you may not be familiar with. I wasn't before I moved to Thailand, and it wasn't something I really sort of discovered until I've been here quite a bit and started to look for different job opportunities, and I realized that the job market here is actually pretty restricted. So there are a lot of restrictions on foreign nationals specifically when looking for work. Basically, there's a lot of jobs that are essentially illegal for foreigners to do. There is a pretty large amount of restrictions on the job market here in Thailand, and I thought we could explore that a little bit in this video. So we'll look at some of the industries that are restricted, and we'll look at maybe some of the reasons why they're restricted. And I'll try and give you an overview of the type of jobs that you're probably not going to find here in Thailand. Whether you're a traveler looking for job opportunities or a long-term expat looking for a career, it's important to know what industries are restricted in Thailand. In this video, let's have a look at some illegal jobs in Thailand and the reasons why they are off limits to foreigners. So if you're planning on living and working in Thailand, then maybe stick around because you might find some of this information useful. Thailand, as you may know, is a rapidly developing country with a large array of industries. It has a diverse job market from tourism to agriculture, a very large and growing manufacturing industry. More and more brands seem to be moving manufacturing here to Thailand as each year passes actually. And on the whole, the job market does seem to be growing. With its low cost of living and warm climate, Thailand is a popular destination for travelers and expats alike. But despite its many opportunities, there are many industries that are restricted to foreigners. Obviously, if you're planning to move here, if you're considering living in Thailand, this may be something very important for you to research yourself. I'll try and give an overview. I've got a few documents collected that we can go through and look at the list. So there's like 4 main lists of restricted jobs to foreigners. There are exceptions, there are permits for some of these things. It also depends where you're coming from and what nationality you are, because different trade deals do exist between different countries. So we'll have a look at a little bit of that also. But definitely don't just take my word for it. Do your own research on this topic because it is important you get this right. Seek legal advice if you're in any doubt, because you don't want to be out here. You don't want to accept a job that is in a restricted industry that would be illegal for you to do. You could be hit with fines, you could be deported, and you could potentially even face jail time. So you definitely want to get this right. You don't want to be working in an illegal job for sure. So what is off limits? According to the Foreigners Working Management Emergency Decree, BE 2561, there are 4 lists of restricted jobs for foreigners in Thailand. List number 1 being strictly prohibited, and includes things like wood carving, driving motor vehicles, hair cutting, hairdressing or beauty treatment, cloth weaving by hand, making Thai musical instruments, Thai massage, cigarette rolling by hand, tour guide or sightseeing tour operations. That is just a sample of some of the things on this list to give you a little bit of an idea of the things that are very much prohibited here in Thailand. As you can see, a lot of the things on this list are seen as culturally Thai, so like the Thai massage, even some of the silk weaving. Thailand has a sort of renowned and old history of silk weaving and creating products from silk. So to many people out here, that's seen as something like culturally significant and something that they want to protect. So like I said, list number 1 is things that are very much illegal, very restricted, and you're probably not going to find any workaround or any permit or any trade deal that will help you circumnavigate those restrictions. If you want to see the full list, I will leave a link in the description to this video, potentially to a PDF if I can figure that out, or I'll leave a link to a website where you can read the full list for yourself. But that was an example of list number 1. And like I mentioned, there are in fact 4 lists, so let's move on to list number 2. List 2 consists of occupations prohibited with exceptions and includes things such as civil engineering and architectural work. So this probably means that if you want to engage in this work, there potentially is a route for you if the company who are employing you have a need or have a particular skill set that needs to be imported, or a system or something like that. So these are jobs that are restricted, so you couldn't just come out here and find any job in those industries, but potentially you could find a company who is in fact able to hire foreign nationals or foreign citizens and doing these jobs. So like it says in the title of this list, these jobs are prohibited with exception. List number 3 is titled Exceptions for Skilled or Semi-Skilled Workers, and consists of, amongst other things, bricklaying, knife making, shoemaking, hat making. Once again, there are more on each of these lists, but I've just given you a little bit of an example of what you can find there. I think it's interesting that on this list, it seems to be things that you maybe would consider a trade, such as knife making, hat making. So they are prohibited predominantly. However, if you're skilled, if you're certainly qualified, or you have certain experience in these industries, potentially, once again, you could find a company willing to employ you, and you could find legal work in these industries. However, it's definitely not going to be easy. It would probably be pretty rare and pretty difficult, but it's not impossible by the sounds of things. Finally, list 4 is titled Exceptions under Treaties, and includes things like labour and shop front sellers, amongst other things once again. Exceptions under treaties presumably means that if the Thai government has a treaty or an agreement with another country, then obviously those people from that country can do these restricted jobs here in Thailand. Now, this is actually pretty common, and I think it's pretty much limited to countries geographically bordering Thailand. So if you come from further afield, like myself, if you're from a European or Western country or America, then the work permit you would get to work legally in Thailand would be like a green booklet. Now, there is something different. There is a different type of work permit. I don't know anything about this, but if you come from Cambodia, Laos, Malaysia, Myanmar, I think those countries, and maybe a few others that are quite close to Thailand, you can actually get a different type of work permit that does allow you to do certain jobs that would be restricted to people from other countries, such as myself. So you do see people from those countries doing manual, like labor jobs, construction jobs, those type of things. You do see that quite often here in Thailand. There's obviously a demand for, in those industries, for migrant workers. And there is a route for you if you're from certain countries that have, like we said, those agreements, those treaties with Thailand. So it is possible, perhaps, if you're from one of those countries, to come here and do some of the restricted jobs on the list, if that is, there is a treaty in place that allows you to do so. The lists are far bigger, far longer, and include far more industries than I have just mentioned in passing in that video. I just wanted to give you an example of, well, I wanted to tell you the 4 sort of categories of lists that have been written up by the government here, and give you an example of some of the industries that are off limits to foreign nationals here in Thailand. Like I said, I'll either leave a PDF or a link to a PDF in the description of this video if you want to see the full document, because they are available online. You could also search this yourself. If you go to Google, you can find this information. It's all written up, and you can get the official documents that were published in the Royal Gazette by the Thai government. And this may come as a surprise to you. It did to me. I wasn't aware of this when I moved to Thailand. I don't think there's anything necessarily similar to that in my home country, so it was something that I'd not heard of before. And it did leave me pondering the question, like, why are so many industries are restricted? I think the answer is probably pretty obvious, and all the reasons why some people would agree with these restrictions is pretty obvious. It's to protect the job opportunities for Thai citizens. By reserving certain industries for Thai citizens, the government is ensuring that its citizens have access to job opportunities and a secure source of income. In a deeply patriotic country like Thailand, this policy is also meant to protect the country's cultural identity by limiting the influence of foreign cultures in certain sectors, such as like mass media and education. Thailand shares borders with countries that potentially aren't quite as well off. So if these restrictions weren't in place, you might have a lot of migrant workers come in and perhaps like offer work like in certain industries for much less than your Thai citizen would be able to afford to do those services for. This could, really affect the job market, and the people coming here potentially would be making a lot more than they would if they were at home. So you can see how that would potentially be an issue. Also, Thailand's a really popular place for holiday makers, like we said, and expats like myself, who really enjoy the lifestyle, who really like the sort of way of life and really want to live here. And I guess with that kind of sort of mass, with that large amount of people who really enjoy being here, an unrestricted job market potentially would be overwhelmed by people who would decide to stay and work here. That would be the fear, I imagine, by the people who implemented these regulations, at least. Although there definitely is an argument for free market capitalism. It's something I definitely understand and definitely see that side of the argument when it comes to this discussion. I do understand the reasons for it. I do respect, in some ways, the Thai government for looking out for the people of this country and trying to protect their job opportunities. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but that seems to be a perfectly reasonable thing for a country to do. But let me know in the comment section what you think about that. Just to round this video up, obviously working an illegal job, like we did briefly mention, comes with fines, comes with imprisonment potentially, and deportation. So it is a sort of high risk, low reward situation if you do find yourself being offered a job that is restricted. Definitely not something that I would recommend. I don't think anyone would probably recommend. But it can also be confusing, so yeah, definitely research this topic further if you are planning to move to Thailand and start work, and try and make sure that any job you do take up is within your legal rights to do so. If you're interested in learning the story of why I live in Thailand, why I moved out here in the first place, then I have made a video about that previously, so I'll leave it over here. Check it out. Should be right on the screen now. So yeah, click that if you're interested in knowing that story.